Morgan's going to explain to us how she did the bell ringer. Whenever you talk, make sure you talk kind of loudly so that way the people on video can hear you because they really can't see what's written on the board. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so you have to get the y by itself, so you carry the x to the side, you make that a negative, and then you divide everything by the y, and then you get y equals 3 over 9x minus 2, or y equals 0.3.
Thank you. Cheney, tell us, do you agree or disagree?
You're right, but just don't forget to put the x or some part of the fraction.
Well, you can't simplify 3 over 9.
Yeah,
it's 1 over 6.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I didn't get that.
All right, yeah, so good job catching that. Yeah, always make sure you simplify your fractions. So 3 over 9 will simplify to 1/3. And if you do the 0.3 with the repeating sign, it's fine. The only thing I would recommend is if you have to graph it, then I would leave it as a fraction. But if you're not graphing it, and good job on not forgetting the x, or on noticing the x. So y equals 1/3 x minus 2, or y equals 0.3 with a line above it, x minus 2. Good job. What questions do you have for us on the bell ringer? Okay. All right, you can put your bell ringer away. The next thing I need is any AMI work that you have not turned in yet. I need you to get that out. Make sure your name's on it. Pass it to the front row. Pass it to the right. And then get out your notes from yesterday so that way we can get those completed.
I wasn't sure if that was the right value yet. I think it is.
February the 1st, no. Yeah, February 8th or 9th, yep. Alright, so we're picking up where we left off yesterday. Yes, if you have I know with me, with graphing systems of equations, sometimes my graphs don't look perfect. And so they can get off track a little bit, or sometimes I graph it incorrectly. And I love solving equations, and solving systems using substitution is just like I'm solving a bunch of equations in one problem. I'm pretty much solving like 3 equations in one problem here. All right, so you wrote down the list of steps. First thing is pick an equation to solve for a variable. Once you get the answer, the expression, substitute it into the other equation, solve for the remaining variable, and then substitute your answer into one of the original equations and solve for the remaining variable, and then write your answer as an ordered pair. Always write your answer as an ordered pair. I would hate for you to go through and do all that work and then get it kind of wrong because you did not write your answer as an ordered pair. All right, and then we did this example together, or I showed you this example. And now we're going to do another example. All right, so I'll give you a second to write this system down. X equals 6 plus 2y, and 2y plus 3x equals 14.
I have a question. Yes. Whenever we're working out, do we have to put the box and all that stuff and the arrows around it?
It helps if you do. All right, so first thing is, number 1 says pick an equation to get one of the variables by itself. Well, what you want to do is see if there's a variable that's already by itself. And if you look here, x is by itself. and the other equation. That helps you know where to plug it in. Now, when you plug this in, everything else is going to stay exactly the same. So it's going to be 2y plus 3. But instead of the x, you're going to put a parenthesis and then equals 14. And then inside the parenthesis, you're going to put what was inside the box, which is 6 plus 2y. Okay? And now you're going to solve it. So 2y, and then to get rid of the parentheses, we need to distribute. So we need to distribute the 3 times 6, which is positive 18. 3 times 2y is 6y. Now you combine your like terms. 2y plus 6y is 8y. Now you subtract 18 over. And you get 8y equals 14 minus 18 is negative 4. Divide both sides by 8. Negative 4 divided by 8 is going to be negative 1/2. So y equals negative 1/2. Or negative 0.5. Either one's fine. Okay. Now the next step says to substitute your answer into one of the original equations. Now when you substitute it in, it doesn't matter. You can plug it in for y right here or here. I'm going to plug it into the top one. So I'm going to do x equals 6 plus 2 times negative 1/2. 6 plus 2 times negative 1/2 would be negative 1. And then 6 and negative 1 is 5. So x equals 5. And then the last step says to write my answer as an ordered pair. So my answer, x always goes first, would be 5, comma, negative 1/2.
This is for
Negative 0.5 is fine. That's the same thing as negative 1/2. Notice there's no graphing involved. If you were graphing this, you would have to, could you imagine putting both of these in slope-intercept form?
Oh, God. Yeah, I would. Well,
once you
I
like
fall
figure out
over
the
dead. I cannot do that. It's too much work.
Once you like figure out the x and
My
y,
hand
you
would
just
shake
have to put that in an equation, like y equals. Oh wait, no, really? We have to do this figure into the equation.
Yeah, like this one, you could just subtract x, or 6, and then divide by 2, and you get y equals 1/2 x minus 3. Subtract 3x, divide by 2, y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 7. Alright, let's try another one. I'll give you a second to write this one down. X equals y plus 2, and x equals 2y minus 1. X equals y plus 2, and x equals 2y minus 1.
If they both have a variable on the side, can you just pick whichever one you want to pick?
Alright, so just like she said, you can pick whichever one you want to pick. So I'm going to pick this top one, x, and it equals y plus 2. So I'm going to put a box around the y plus 2. And the one that I underlined at top, I'm going to underline it at the bottom also, because that tells me where to plug it in at. Alright, so I rewrite this bottom equation, but instead of x, I'm going to put a parenthesis. And you're going to realize here, you really don't need a parenthesis, but I'm just doing it so that way I'm staying consistent. And inside this parenthesis is where you're going to put the y plus 2. Now, really what's in front of this x is a 1. So like we're distributing the 1. 1 times y is y, 1 times 2 is 2. So you're really not doing anything new. I'm going to make that a little bit darker. So y plus 2 equals 2y minus 1. So So if you don't have anything in front of the x, like a variable, like a number or a negative sign, you really don't have to put the parenthesis. It's there just in case there's something in front of it. All right, and now you solve it. So y plus 2 equals 2y minus 1. I'm going to subtract 2y over to the left side, or you could have subtracted y to the right. That way you didn't have any negatives. 1 minus 2 is negative 1, so that's negative 1y plus 2 equals, those cancel, you get negative 1. Then subtract 2 over. Negative 1y equals negative 3. Divide both sides by negative 1. Y equals positive 3. Now that I have y, now you can plug it in to either equation to find x. It's up to you which one you want to do. I'm going to do the top. So x equals y plus 3. I'm sorry, y plus 2. So x equals y plus 2. So I would do x equals 3 plus 2, which is 5. Oops. 3 plus 2. So x equals 5. And my final answer would be 5, 3. X always goes first. And there you go. Alright, what questions do you have for me?
I think it's pretty easy.
Alright, let's try another one. Let's do this one. 4x minus y equals 5. 2x plus y equals 10. Now, what is different about these?
There's not a variable on its own.
Yeah, there's not one on its own, but can we get one on its own? Yeah. You just pick whichever one you want to do. It doesn't matter. You can do one of the x's or you can do one of the y's. My recommendation is do the one that's going to be the least amount of work. Okay, so which of these 4 variables do you think will be the least amount of work?
The positive one.
The top
Two.
one.
Okay. Well, with this one, you'll subtract 4x and then you'll divide by negative 1. And then with this one, you'll subtract 2x and then be done. So it's really up to you which one you're going to want to do. I'm going to go with the bottom because that way I don't have to worry about that negative sign. Okay. So to get the y by itself, I would subtract 2x from both sides.
And do you point something off if there's not like an X behind it? Sometimes I find out to forget.
All right, so you get y equals negative 2x plus 10. All right, so this is the one you underline the y and put a box around the negative 2x plus 10. And then I underline the y in the other equation as well, because that tells me where to plug it in at. So now I'm going to rewrite this equation at the top, but instead of y, I'm going to put parentheses. So I'm going to do 4x minus parentheses equals 5. Right here's where it's important that you make sure and do the other equation, not the one you solved for. If you do the one you solved for and plug it into that one, everything's going to cancel out. All right, so now that you have that written, now you can plug in what's inside the box, which is negative 2x plus 10. Bring down your 4x. distribute this -1 here, because that negative sign is really a -1. -1 times -2x would be +2x. And -1 times +10 is -10. And then bring down your equals 5. Now you combine your like terms. 4x plus 2x is 6x. Then you add 10 over and get 6x equals 15. Divide both sides by 6. You get x equals,
5/2.
yes, 5/2, or what is that, 2.5?
Yeah.
So you can do either one, either 5/2 or 2.5. Either one's fine. We're not having to graph anything, so whichever one's easier for you to multiply. Okay. Alright, so now that we know x, now we need to figure out y. Now it's up to you if you want to plug in x into this equation or this equation. Me personally, I'm going to plug it into the one where I solve for the variable. Where I have y equals -2x plus 10, I'm going to plug in x right there. Okay? So I'm going to do y equals -2x plus 10. X is 2.5, so y equals -2 times 2.5 plus 10. That would be -5 plus 10. So that would be +5. And then your solution would be 2.5, 5. And there you go. That's the most, I don't want to say the very most difficult problem, but that's as difficult, the most amount of work that it gets. You have to solve one of the equations for one of the variable, then substitute it in, solve, then substitute that in and solve, and then write your answer. That's the most amount of work you're going to do.
Did you get the -2x from
Because you had to solve for y, so in order to get this over to the other side, you got to do the opposite. So you have to subtract it to move it over.
So one of the problems have to have like the x without any of their numbers in it.
Or the y, either the x or the y.
X equals whatever y.
And if it doesn't, you'll have to do that first. After we learn all 3 methods, then you're going to pretty much pick and choose which method you want to use based on how it's set up to begin with. After we learn all 3 methods. So far we've learned 2. Alright, try another one.
Is the methods like graphing, substitution,
Elimination, yep. We'll do elimination at the end of this week. Alright, write this one down. X minus 2y equals 6. 3x plus 2y equals 4. X minus 2y equals 6. 3x plus 2y equals 4. Okay. Alright. Hayden, tell me, which variable would you like for me to solve for? And x or y? X, okay, so we're solving for x, so that means we need to get rid of this -2y. Hunter, tell me, how do I get rid of the -2y? Mm-hmm. Well, she's solving for x, so we're gonna leave x over here. She wants to move the -2y to that side. So what do I do? Add -2y or add 2y? Yeah, add 2y, because you're doing the opposite. So we're going to add 2y over to the other side. So we get x equals, I'm going to write it up here, x equals either 6 plus 2y or 2y plus 6, it really doesn't matter. put a box around my expression and underline the x, and I underline the x in the other equation, so that way I know where to substitute it in at. Okay, so I'm gonna rewrite this equation, but instead of x, I'm gonna put parentheses, so it'll be 3 parentheses plus 2y equals 4. And inside the parentheses, I'm going to put what was inside the box, which is 2y plus 6. Okay. And now we solve. We do 3 times 2y, which is 6y. 3 times 6, which is 18. And then plus 2y equals 4. Now we combine like terms. 6y plus 2y is 8y. Then we subtract 18. 8y equals negative 14. Divide by 8. It's going to be negative 7 over 4. What is that? Negative 1.75? Would y'all prefer me to do it as a fraction or decimal? What do y'all like better? Fractions, okay. Alright, so if it's a fraction, it's negative 7 over 4, and if it's a decimal, it's negative 1.75. If it's like 0.5, 0.25, 0.75, then decimals are fine, but if it's a non-terminating decimal, like it keeps going on and on and on forever, then I would leave it as a fraction. But as long, it really doesn't matter. Alright, so now we gotta find x. So I'm gonna plug it into this one here. So x equals 2 times y plus 6. And y is negative 1.75. Is that negative 3.5?
Yes. Wait, no, I got 2.5.
Did you already add the 6 to it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So x equals, you said 2.5? And then so my ordered pair is 2.5 comma negative 1.75.
Wait, what is? That's a fraction.
2.5 would be 5 over 2,
Okay,
and that would
good.
be negative 7 over 4.
Okay, good, that's what I got.
Any questions, or what questions? I shouldn't say any questions, I should say what questions do you have for me? All right, this next one you're going to try with your partner. All right. Here's, yeah, you can do this one. X minus y equals 2, and x plus y equals negative 8. Adriana, can I get you to come over here and sit down, and you and Rebecca will be partners? Remember to turn your desks to face each other, please. And Brandon, scoot up and work with Allison.
That's like so good.
It's gonna be so simple. And then,
Yeah, right, different answer.
He's redoing his what we did in
Alright, yeah, let's make sure we watch our language.
So do you want plus one?
What I told answer. Alright, if I can have your attention, please. Let me unfreeze this. Allison, what answer did you and your partner get for the solution to this system of equations?
-3, -5.
-3, -5. Okay. Rebecca, what did you and your partner get for the solution?
We were having issues solving it because we both got confused with little numbers.
Yeah, like when there's like hardly no numbers in the equation, I got 7 of these. I don't know which one to start with or like what to solve for.
Okay, so which one would you like to start with or solve for?
I was gonna say
The top one, and would you like to solve for x or y? Okay, so if you're solving for x, what do you gotta do to this negative y? Adding, subtracting, multiplying, add y to the other side. So you get x equals y plus 2. So you put a box around the y plus 2, and you underline the x, and you underline the x in the other equation. Okay? So when you go to write this other equation, you put a parenthesis where the x is, and then put plus y equals -8. And then inside the box, you're going to put inside the parentheses, you're going to put what's inside the box, which is y plus 2. Okay? Now my next question, do I have anything in the front here to distribute? No, so I can just get rid of the parentheses. Y plus 2 plus y equals -8. Okay, so now you combine like terms, y plus y. Hayden, what's y plus y?
2y.
2y. So we get 2y plus 2 equals -8. Alright, Hunter, what would be my next step?
You subtract 2 to the -8.
Okay, so you get 2y equals -10. Parker, what would be my next step?
Divide -10 divided by 2.
Perfect, so I get y equals -5. So it looks like your y is correct. Awesome. All right, so my question, what is my next step, Cheyenne? Yeah, insert it into one of these. I'm going to pick this one. So x equals -5 plus 2. Brandon, what's -5 plus 2?
-3.
And then, so Cody, what's my solution?
3 equals
Your solution would be the ordered pair. We have y equals -5 and x
-3
equals...
over -3 the common -5.
Yeah, so they were correct. So our solution is -3 comma -5. That would be the ordered pair where they overlap. Okay. What questions do you have now? Okay. All right, let's try the next one. You're going to try this one with your partner as well. I want to remind you, while you're working with your partner, you should only be talking with your partner. You shouldn't be talking to someone that's not your partner. And you should be on task working out the problem. If your partner's not finished, you're not finished.
Is this what you
Let's see here. Let me hang on just a second. I'm going to go back. Try this one here. Y equals -x plus 4, and y equals 2x minus 8. y equals negative x plus 4, and y equals 2x minus 8. So try this one with your partner.
This one's a lot easier. Negative x plus 4, so it's 2 times.
Okay, well, y's already solved for, so there's really nothing you have to do, so it just stays negative x plus 4. The only time you add x is if you need to move it to the left. And if you did that, you would have x plus y equals 4, so like you're undoing everything.
So just sub one of those and divide by the other. I just took plus x plus m from the just for the secret. So y equals 2x minus 8. So I put in on the floor for negative x plus 4 equals 2x minus 8. And then
You're right.
so
So it's still negative x minus 8. Negative x plus 1.
it's 2x plus
To units. I added x to the side. So then it would be 3x minus 8.
I on the 4 I just put minus 1
And then add it.
and 8 minus 4 is
And then y, the same one that's in the wall.
Alright, if I could have your attention, please. Morgan, what solution did you and your partner get?
We got 4,
4,0, okay? Alright, so I picked this right here to solve for y, because it was already solved for, and I put a box around negative x plus 4, underline the y here. And so now I need to substitute it in, so I do parentheses equals 2x minus 8. And inside that parenthesis, I plug in negative x plus 4. And there's nothing for me to distribute, so I do negative x plus 4 equals 2x minus 8. Subtract 2x, you get negative 3x plus 4 equals negative 8. Subtract 4, negative 3x equals negative 12. Divide by negative 3, you get x equals positive 4. Plug it in, y equals negative 4 plus 4, which is 0. So my answer would be 4 comma 0.
Got it. I have to like jump on the like every time.
Alright, you can turn your desk around, but don't put, or you can put your notes up and number those, but don't put other stuff up because I have some papers to pass back to you. Don't forget, chapter 5 vocab goes in your binder. Chapter 5 vocab goes in your binder. It'll be the very first page of these, of this chapter. You said page 27?
That'll be 23.
Whatever page it was that we wrote on the board yesterday.
That's fine, yes, 23. I was thinking we're doing it.
How do you look? Figure it out, Ronnie.
Let me keep those so they don't have a grade on them. I would keep quizzes and tests.
I'll sort through these tomorrow.
You can put your calculators up. I think we just went over these right here.
Oh, not really. We just put our stuff like after 6 hours and just water.
All right, enjoy the rest of your day.